Hello, and welcome. Welcome on into the Swear Word. I'm your host, Brandon Swear, and hey, this is a podcast for the chilihead community, by the chilihead community. Regardless of your spice tolerance, this is the place for you. Up tonight, we have an amazing episode. We have two products on deck for Hot or Not that are very versatile, and I cannot wait to dive into those, as well as an amazing guest, locked and loaded, ready to go, and very fun game plan. So, episode 156 starts now. What's going on, Swear Nation? So glad to have everyone here. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much for being here and continuing to make this podcast what it is. 2 years strong, 2 years in, and absolutely loving every single minute of it. I want to say thank you all to those that have just recently found the podcast, all the way to those that have been rocking since day one. Thank you all for continuing to make this podcast what it is. We have two products that are going to be featured here on Hot or Not tonight. We have both of these coming from Liv'N Spicy, so we're going to be diving into these. These are going to be great overall, very versatile items, so can't wait to dive into those on Hot or Not, as well as we have Liv Bender from Liv'N Spicy here as our guest tonight. So we're going to get a good understanding of her overall entry journey into the space, as well as the overall creative juices and where she's planning on going from there. So look forward to diving into that conversation, but first let's go ahead and jump on over to Hot or Not. Hey, welcome on into Hot or Not. Up tonight, we have two products on deck. Both of these are from Liv'N Spicy. And if this is your first time checking out the podcast or Hot or Not, I do things a little bit different here. I don't do a 1 out of 10 scale. I do a 1 out of 5. That's really based off of 5 different categories. Those categories are heat, aroma, flavor, versatility, and burn. You add those up, you average them out, and that gives you your total swear word rating. And as always, I do not like to read the ingredients ahead of time. I like to let my taste buds do the exploration, and then we read the ingredients all together. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and check out the first product. Spicy jalapeno elixir. If you're tired of just, going out to restaurants and having very boring drinks, aren't spicy enough. Maybe your margarita's not spicy enough, whatever the case may be. Maybe you just want to spice up a lemonade and not be out drinking for the night. This is a great alternative for that. And we're going to dive into the many other use cases, because this is not just limited or bound to drinks only. This also works out great for food. So this is actually a product that my wife and I both enjoy and love. It is a dark green on the bottle itself. It does have a perforation, so we're going to give this one a good shake. And for today, I have a raspberry lemonade, for example, and then also still have my tablespoon. So we're going to do a little bit on the spoon and a little bit on the drink. So tablespoon per serving. So got the tablespoon here. I'm going to go ahead and pour some of this on there. Nice overall look, jalapeno juice. You're picking up the jalapeno aroma there. Maybe a little bit of citrus, but cheers. Wow, that's amazing. Very fresh, very crisp in the jalapeno flavor and the overall aroma as well. You're really able to get a nice little tongue sizzle, tingle, if you will. Nothing super crazy, but all in all, phenomenal. Great way to enhance what you have going on. And once again, this is the spicy jalapeno from Liv'N Spicy. From a versatility standpoint, I could see myself really being able to use this not only for, like I mentioned, the drinks aspect, but incorporating this in while cooking or into like a salad whenever making a salad dressing at home, or just kind of chopping up some fun overall. Like I could see this going great in the summer, throwing this in with, like, say, some watermelon, some cantaloupe, some different types of fruit that would absorb some fluid, and then pouring this in there, tossing it, incorporating it, kind of like ceviche would also probably be great with this. Let's go ahead and try out the lemonade with that. Nice, subtle. I feel like the raspberry that's in this lemonade might be a little bit more strong, flavor forward in that sense for 1 tablespoon. So me personally, I would lean in a little bit more, but this might be perfect for you. This might be the right amount of heat and flavor from that jalapeno coming forward. It is much more of a after effect set in from the flavor and from the burn. So you're still appreciating the drink. You're getting the full body and flavor of the drink. You're getting a nice addition of the jalapeno flavor there, but the burn characteristics really kind of just set in more on the back end of that sip. Absolutely loving it. Now, once again, the beauty of this is while it has the recommended amount, if that is too much, scale back. One thing you can always do is start small and slowly increase from there, because ultimately can't take it back out once it's in. Ingredients for the spicy jalapeno cocktail elixir: purified water, organic jalapeno peppers, citric acid, and then less than 2% of organic stevia extract. A little bit of the stevia to kind of help balance out that earthiness that can come from the jalapenos. Still getting that great jalapeno body in this, still able to really incorporate this in whatever you have going on. This is also a great bottle to be able to keep with you, but definitely small enough that it can fit in a bag, it can fit in your pocket, whatever the case may be, whatever the occasion may be. And you're going to be able to make sure where you go is not boring. You can spice up your drinks, you can spice up your food, and have a great time. Fiery habanero elixir here. Now, as you can see there, it is a nice, once again, if you caught the other one was a jalapeno elixir. This is a habanero, so turning up the heat a bit. As you can see here, this is a 3-ounce bottle as to where the other was a 4. This one you can travel with, and you're not going to have to worry about any kind of issues going through the airport with this, as in your carry-on bag. So I made up some guacamole, and I ended up just not adding any kind of heat to it. And then I got some chips there. So we're going to be mixing this one on into some guacamole, and as well as we're going to still try some on a spoon. This is also 1 tablespoon for a serving size. So there's 6 servings in this one container. Seal on there. So let me go ahead and open up that seal. Nice habanero body, and pour a tablespoon and put it into the guacamole. I'm going to put another tablespoon for me to try. Let's go ahead and check out this here fiery habanero elixir. Very nice habanero body. It's done in a way that you can actually pick up the habanero flavor, the full body nature to it. Really absolutely love the carry forward that you're getting. It does have a bit more of a kick, as you would expect, going from jalapeno to habanero. Curious to see how this plays into this guacamole here. For the guacamole, like I said, I made it at home. Just did 2 avocados, a small white onion, finely diced, and a bushel, one of those small bushels of cilantro, excluding any kind of heat adders to it. And then, of course, throwing in a little bit of cumin, salt, and just a tiny bit of black pepper, and then lime. If you are just starting out, this is going to be one that you could maybe get away with, but still working it in smaller amounts, you're going to be able to have a good time. Working this in as like a marinade, working this in as you cook, it's going to be more manageable if you're just starting out. Small amounts in drinks, finding out where you're comfortable, best way to go about that. Now, if you're working on your own personal best, this is going to be a nice medium heat overall elixir here. This is going to be a great addition to adding into drinks as well as working into your foods and giving it a nice fiery pop. So absolutely love it. See this going great with salads, ceviches. As a marinade, this could go great as like a finishing like toss for, say, some vegetables as it comes off of the grill. All kinds of great ways to incorporate this in. Guacamole here. So let's go ahead and give the guacamole a good taste test with the addition of the habanero. I love the way that you're still able to pick up that habanero body in this, even though that was a tablespoon. Now, I would probably put just a little bit more than a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half, maybe 2, to get that extra layer of heat added out, because the guacamole does kind of help bring down that initial heat itself, as where just eating it straight off the spoon, you're getting the full effect. So maybe just a little bit more that I would add personally, but as I mentioned before, it's really dependent on your overall tolerance and how you're wanting to use it. So, but let's go ahead and read off some ingredients here. This is purified water, organic habanero peppers, citric acid, and then less than 2% of organic stevia. If you enjoyed the products that are featured here on Hot or Not tonight and you would like to pick those up, I will have the direct links down below for Liv'N Spicy, so you can check out the full lineup of amazing products from Liv'N Spicy. But let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump on over to tonight's discussion. Hey, Liv, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Glad to have you here. Had the pleasure of, getting to see your product in use case at ZestFest. I think it was 2024, if I remember correctly, and absolutely loved what you had going on. So honored to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. First shows that we did, so it was exciting.
Okay. Yeah, that was I guess a better year than this past one as far as overall attendance goes, but definitely a good one to get tapped in and plugged in with some other companies that are out there kind of in the space a little bit longer, definitely to kind of help, if there was any kind of questions. That is a great sounding ground, if you will, to be able to kind of get tapped into in that regard. So pretty cool one to be a part of early on.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to have met two mentors, especially Marcos, and he just told me all these, like, he dove into his own hot sauce, which was like a family recipe, and it went from one to now he has an array of multiple. So I was like, I should start looking into making not just jalapeno, but go down the pepper line as well.
Absolutely. And, that's, I guess, really a great segue into, I guess, more or less jumping into what was your initial, journey into the world of spice, like, first and foremost, and then that moment of you saying, you know what, I'm going to start making my own spicy products.
So I've always loved spice, and I started, spicy margaritas became a huge thing pretty fast. I was like, okay, I'd love this. And started ordering them, and they weren't that spicy. You got to taste the jalapeno, but I was like, it's really not spicy. I don't like sweet cocktails, so I always lean towards the spice, but it just wasn't there for me. So one weekend, I was like, how do I make a concentrated jalapeno juice that I can just bring out with me, order a skinny marg, and fix it myself? And a lot of trial and error, but by I want to say that Sunday night, I was like, I made it. It's not like a thick consistency, it's just like more liquidy, and you just need to use a little bit of it. And I brought it to my friend's birthday the following weekend because everyone had to bring something. So I brought that in a huge mason jar. And within the first hour, I like went to go make it. I put it in the kitchen. I went to go make a drink, and it was halfway gone. And I was like, where'd it go? And my friend went up to me. She was like, is this what you brought? I said, yeah. She's like, we all were calling it the spicy Hulk drink because it was this like green, you know, cocktail, like mixer. And I was like, yeah, that was mine. She was like, we love it. Like, you need to do something with this. So I started putting it in little bottles like this so I could fit in my purse and bringing it out with me. And my friends in the industry saw me just ordering a skinny marg, and they're like, you like it spicy? I was like, I know, you just never do it right though. So they were like, well, what is this? And I let them try it, and they were like, this is amazing. We hate muddling, we hate prepping for it, and half the time people are sending their drinks back, which is like essentially making us lose money and time.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, I really do have something here.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. And I mean, the multiple different ways in which like this whole journey really had taken off, the overall drive and inspiration starting out, and you trying to navigate those waters, figuring it out, and then finally getting that nice vote of confidence, that validation, if you will, from your friends while you're there trying this, basically. I guess at that point it's kind of like a blind study, right? Because they had no clue really what they're getting into. They just kind of jumped in, and to be able to find something that one didn't really need that explanation, and then two, they found an immediate use and enjoyment in it. That had to be super cool.
Yeah, and I told them I only used organic jalapenos and I just used a little drop of stevia to counterbalance it. But other than that, it was lemon juice and water.
Yeah. Well, that's super cool because I mean that little yeah, because definitely for anyone that if you're looking at this and you're trying to figure it out, that little bit of that stevia to give some context to that is really taking just a slight edge of that earthiness out of that jalapeno. And so it really makes it nice and smooth and balanced and well rounded. And obviously mentioning the drinks aspect, I know that you have mentioned as well that it's not just limited to that nature, and I can definitely see that. It is, very versatile in that way. And a lot of that has to do with the minimalistic aspect at which the ingredients are there, right? You don't have anything really clashing or in your face or something that you have to like try to work around because it is just, singing forward with that pepper note.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to add more sweetness to drinks that already come, with the mixers that have a load of sugar in it. Like I just wanted strictly spicy.
Yeah. Yeah. And because I mean, ultimately, there's I'm sure a lot of people that love sugary drinks. I know my brother-in-law really loves his sugary drinks. I cannot. Definitely, I don't know. The alcohol just hangs on, hurts me more the next day, if you will. The sugar, the higher the sugar content is, which is never fun. Nobody wants that part. Like that's not the enjoyable part. So.
Yeah, that's why we always say it's guilt free. We're already in the guilt with alcohol. We don't need to add more guilt or
Yep.
sugar.
That's too funny though. That just like it the things that you appreciate, obviously as a kid, even my daughters are a perfect example of this. They're like running around, they love sugar, and it's like it's funny because now because they've kind of tried some things that are just naturally occurring with like a higher sugar content, like different fruits, etc. I've started to notice they even have a preference for the more natural sugar than say the added sugar. And so it's interesting just the different generations at which like what was popular, what was trendy, what was going on at the time, right? Versus now, and it's just drastically different. The outlook, the mindset, the overall clean focus in just really the delivery at which you're like getting your food, getting your drinks. It all this stuff matters these days, which is nice to start seeing because, I mean, hey, it's these ingredients don't need man-made help in a lot of cases, right? There's no need for additional things you can't pronounce or have no clue of where it came from.
Yeah, that's where I was stuck on. It needs to be organic because that's a huge value to me. And how am I going to sell a product that I wouldn't drink myself? So I stuck to my guns on that. And when I was looking at mass production, I wanted to find a co-packer. And I went through 3 months of talking back and forth with multiple, and they wanted to cut corners with let's use a jalapeno powder or a puree. And I said, send it to me. They said they could get organic. So they sent it to me, and it was very off and or salty and just didn't have that like fresh taste to it.
Hmm.
And I was like, no, like I'm not gonna mess with my formula just to cut costs. So by the third month, a co-packer reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I can get you fresh organic jalapenos from the same supplier that supplies for Whole Foods." And I was like, oh, "Thank God." Okay. So I went out. He's in Texas. Flew out there. We messed around in his lab and finally found the perfect, like my formula made perfectly. Took a little bit, but we got it done.
Nice. Definitely like that. Okay. It's one of those things. It's just like sticking to what you know and what you feel is like best is always the better way to go. I know everyone likes to try to find fast, quick, fun, flashy ways to kind of get things done, but in reality, it's all about the end results. It's all about the deliverables, right? Being able to stay on mark for what you intended is super important. So, hats off to you for really kind of sticking to your guns in that example there, because it's far too easy to just kind of fall into the, well, okay, if that's the way it has to be mentality, instead of just being
Yeah, a lot of
headstrong with
people
it.
are like, if you just didn't do organic, it would be cheaper. You could get this done faster. And I was like, but that's not like part of my values. And I really wanted this to be guilt-free as well as organic. And
Yeah.
luckily, I found that could make that happen.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Okay, and now I know now that you have habanero as well. How was the initial overall journey, like from start launch of the company? Obviously, with any business, there's the highs, there's the lows, there's the learning points along the way. But how did you feel like things had gone with starting out with just jalapeno to the point of like, all right, you know what, we're rolling out habanero now?
Well, it was always my goal to go down the pepper line. And I started realizing a lot of restaurants and bars were having habanero cocktails on there. And I loved it personally. And I was like, I need to make my own because it's still not spicy enough. And I started testing in my kitchen again. And I did a tablespoon of it because that's what I did with the jalapeno. And I was immediately like tears in my eyes and like pacing around my kitchen, like, oh my God, I should have probably did a teaspoon. And I had my boyfriend try it and he was like, oh my God, this is so good. And you'll even have to use less. So it lasts longer. And the color was beautiful. It's this like sherbet orange color. So, yeah, I went ahead. I told my co-packer, I said, I have another flavor I really want to do. And he said, I'm on it. I can get them from the same supplier. Let's do it. So I just wanted, I got a lot of feedback of the jalapeno is such a fresh pepper taste and it is spicy. Obviously, the more you add, the spicier it'll get.
Hmm.
But the habanero, it's just a kick immediately. So
Absolutely.
it's for the people that want to push their spice limit, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and the beauty of it with both of them is, you're getting the flavor, the experience in that sense, but you're still feeling the heat and the burn from the pepper, which is nice. Like even with the jalapeno, you'll find times where you'll take a sip and it'll just really kind of catch and light up the back of your throat. And even with someone with like a high tolerance, it's not that it's like sending you in panic. The difference is you can feel it, as to where oftentimes you'll find drinks or just different types of foods in general that will say ultimately like, this is heated up, this is spiced up by jalapeno, this is spiced up by whatever, like, and then you get to try to enjoy the product only to find out that it's lackluster in both the heat realm and the taste, and you're able to still drive that forward.
Yeah, I learned that what makes the peppers the spiciest, it's the seeds inside. So when I was making it myself in the beginning, like I first put it through a juicer, but that was kicking out all the seeds. So I was like, you taste the fresh jalapeno pepper itself, but no heat. So then I was like, I'm blending in the whole pepper all together with the seeds. And that's where the heat was at. It wasn't the pepper itself, it's the seeds that hold, which a lot of bars and restaurants, when they're prepping, they're cutting it in the quarters, but they're losing so many seeds. So you'll
Hmm.
have jalapenos in your drinks, but so it seems like it's going to be spicy, but it's essentially not because there's no seeds.
Yeah, the one of the biggest mistakes it feels like, and as you're saying, like restaurants, bars in general, end up doing is they will end up, basically gutting the pepper, right? So it's just the outer walls, and yeah, to that point, when you're doing so, you're losing definitely in like those lower heat peppers. Now, as it gets like to the super hots, ultra hots, the lining of those inside of the walls, that'll look completely different. So it'll be like, let's say it's a red pod or a chocolate pod or what have you. You'll cut it open and it'll have this kind of like slightly lighter tone to it. Sometimes it'll just be like pure white on the inside. Sometimes it'll be, so if it's red, sometimes it'll look pink on the inside, whatever. But it's that membrane difference that's in there, very much like those jalapenos, where you'll have that little pith that has all the seeds attached to it. That's where the bulk of all that heat is coming from. And so, yeah, when they strip it out, it's always, not a
It
pleasant
tastes
thing.
like pepper, but there's not the spice, I believe.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So, and then in that sense, like with the jalapenos, taking that out, that's where you're getting more of that earthy nature and less of the jalapeno forward aspects. So,
Yeah.
pretty cool. Okay. Now, as far as, being able to utilize this, yes, obviously drinks, huge go-to, can easily spice up, whether that has alcohol or not. You want to just spice up a lemonade for the day, you're kicking around, shopping, what have you. Great option there. I personally like to make a spicy lemonade every so often, and that's just like a nice little thing that I'll enjoy whenever it's hot outside. And so it's always fun. And then same thing, apple cider, drop some overall heat in there. You got a spicy apple cider, phenomenal there. But there's other things that you can utilize your jalapeno and or the habanero into. And let's open up that conversation. Where are the other areas that it really shines?
We love it with a marinade like chicken or seafood and even steak, as well as soups, salsas, guac, and my friend just made this past weekend sushi at home, but she put the jalapeno in her soy sauce and was like, "This was amazing." So it can really go in anything that you just want to spice up. Um, and someone else just put it in their smoothie, and I was like, I didn't even think of that. I make a smoothie all the time, but now I know.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, and to be able to think through like the amount of times, gosh, so it's a little bit more extra work on a preparation standpoint. But if you're going through the extent of doing like a nice like a burrito or a wrap, and you want that guac, to be spreadable in there without really. Sometimes you'll have the clumps of whether it be tomato chunks or onion chunks or the jalapeno in there, and with that, you could actually incorporate that level of jalapeno spice and still keep it a nice smooth spread for that wrap to really hold and still deliver forward that guac experience.
Yeah, we just wanted, to cut the time and the mess of having to prep with the jalapenos, chopping up, losing the seeds, and not getting a consistency that you're looking for.
Now, are you having to use like, oh, I guess what's the, I guess, typical ratios that you're seeing when you're mixing this into a different food? I guess really any could be a great example, just to kind of give those that are listening an idea of, how much heat or how much overall of it do I need to really drive forward that jalapeno or that habanero taste and heat?
So last night I made me and my sister a pumpkin soup, which served 3 bowls. So I used the habanero in it and I did a tablespoon.
Okay.
So, because we really like the heat. But if you can handle it, do the tablespoon. It tasted amazing. But if you're a little nervous, do a half and then taste it. If you want more, do another half.
Okay. No, that makes good sense there. Does it tend to like if you're adding it, are you tending to add it more towards the end of the cook, or is this something that you would cook with it while it like that higher heat, higher temps?
I put all the ingredients in for the soup last night. And then after not even 5 minutes, I added the habanero.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I know sometimes there will be different sauces or ingredients in general that tend to, perform better at a lower temp. So that's why I wanted to ask, make sure, and I could see that being a lot of fun, and also for maybe someone that wanted to make like a spicy salt. Utilizing that instead of like chopping and prepping and
Yeah.
drying the salt out with the pepper, I would imagine that would still work pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now that could really change in a pinch. That could change, a game, not a game day or what have you. Being able to have that spiced up, flavored salt ready to go, as well as just obviously utilizing it in the dips, utilizing it in different foods. The habanero would be amazing in a nice like overall. God, why am I blanking on the name? Like a Caribbean, there we go, jerk wrap. And that would be a phenomenal layer to add in that heat and that flavor because oftentimes you'll get a nice savory depth, but it kind of starts to lose some of that pepper notes and heat. And I feel like that would really kind of revitalize some of those options that you could grab and mix together.
Yeah, last Super Bowl, I made this huge thing of nachos that was baked, and we did shredded steak, and I put the jalapeno elixir, cooked it with it, but we also did like a creamy cheese, and I added some more in the cheese too, and then we baked it because I like wanted it to be in the meat as well as like tasting the cheese too.
Very nice. I like that. That's a very interesting way to go about it. So I definitely will have to give that one a try because it sounds like a nice dual pairing. It really unifies what you have going on. So I can see that working out really well. Now, as far
Yeah.
as your current, business trajectory, are you solely operating on like an e-commerce side of things, selling directly online? Are you doing more wholesale? How has the overall like kind of business structure been for you so far?
We are on our website as well as Amazon and Walmart.com, but we're kind of in a middle ground of we want to be with a distributor. At first, I was like, I would like to be with a liquor distributing company because we go hand in hand. But I was also told, like, hey, why limit yourself to just a liquor distributor? I would go into the food distributing companies. So we applied to a whole bunch of those that we are trying to get into as well so we can be in retail stores.
Okay. I like it. It definitely makes sense. Your bottles, as you've mentioned, are great for being able to carry with you on the go. They're not going to be, this something large thing that you have to lug around. It's also a nice weight to it as well. So it's not like you don't have to worry. And it's very well made. So you don't have to worry about it breaking first and foremost because, everyone tends to drop things, have problems, so on and so forth. But it's nice, hardy, and sturdy stuff. So kudos there. But
Yeah, we
as
want
you've
it
walked
easy.
around with it, what was that?
We wanted to make it easy to travel with, just like throw it in your purse or in your pocket. So that was a big thing for me. Like, I want you to be able to bring it out with you and not settle for, the cocktails that are made wherever you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And with I guess that's what I was gonna ask next is like as far as all the places that you have gone with your product, have what has like the overall has anyone just been absolutely confused, like they just don't understand what is happening, when you've been out and about?
Yes, especially with the jalapeno one because the bottle's green. So I'll just like pull it out and I do make a point sometimes to do it like right in front of the bartenders so they're like, what is that? What is she doing? As well as like the people around. And they're like, is that absinthe? Like, what is that? Because it's green. I'm like, no, it's just a jalapeno like juice, essentially. And they're like, oh my God, can I try it? And that's where it leads into them trying it, being like, this is amazing. And it's like straight to the point. And then reading the label and like, there's like no bad ingredients. And yeah,
Yeah, no, that's the coolest part about it. And then obviously with the habanero, you're I guess technically the issue would be the jalapenos just barely edging out on the travel with the carry-on type of size, as to where the habanero you can travel with that as a carry-on perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's why when I was making the habanero, I'm like, I need it to be travel worthy because a lot of the shows I go to, people only bring a carry on. And I wanted them to be able to take it home with them. And for the jalapeno one, I was like, just drink a little bit of it and it'll be a 3.4. But I don't want to make people do that every single time. So I'd
Yeah.
like to be able to just order it, put it in their bag, and be able to travel.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's it makes sense. It's smart. That's something that is commonly brought up. Definitely when you're out at these different markets, etc. It's like you never know where everyone's from that's out there shopping. And that's one of the most common questions I feel like that I'll hear is, how many fluid ounces is this? And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, TSA, unless you're checking that, it's gonna take it. So yeah, having those options is great, and something that I talk about often is the idea of like having your travel spicy items with you that you're not going to have problems with, as well as just like being able to have it at the ready, whether it be in your vehicle or on you in your pocket, whatever the case may be, and just being ready for any occasion. And that's also perfect for that. This still is versatile for both carrying and having at the ready for your drinks as well as your food, and still having great time to be able to incorporate it all in one product. So that's super cool.
Yeah, I was just at a wedding last weekend and I always bring some with me. So I had it in my purse. My friend's husband was like, I was pouring it in my drink. He's like, oh, you brought some, and just grabbed the bottle and put it in his coat. And I was like, the next day for the second part of the wedding, I just brought like a case to the hotel room. And I'm like, here, boys, you can put them in your coats and have your own. Like I have two in my purse for the girls. So it was funny to
Nice.
see that he put it in his coat.
Hey, nice vote of confidence right there. That's for sure. Okay. Now, I know you said you wanted to look at potentially going down the line of different peppers. Are you already thinking about potential a next iteration of this? Are you thinking of any kind of additions to this that might be more complementary? Like what is the trajectory looking like going forward?
I would love to do ghost pepper and chili pepper, and the dream is kind of to do like a black label Carolina Reaper for the daredevils out there.
Okay. Okay. That one's definitely going to be, grabbing a lot of those more those individuals that are pushing themselves on a constant basis. I can guarantee you those two for sure are going to be grabbing their attention and really having them coming forward with that. That could be a lot of fun too. I know like I will put ghost pepper and above type of heat and powders and tinctures, different iterations, different things, depending on the drink that I have. But mostly like in coffees, I'll do a lot of that. And it's simply because I don't like to put really anything else in my coffee. It's just like black coffee and that. And so I noticed that if I have a lower heat pepper in those type of drinks, oftentimes the bold slash bitterness from that coffee really kind of cuts the flavor a lot, and you get more left with the overall just heat experience, the capsaicin kind of coming through. And so with those higher heat ones, you still get those pepper notes, which is nice. So it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're still experimenting with them because I don't want it to be too uncomfortably hot, but I think it would be a good addition.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, now as far as I know that this is not just simply something that is going to be, once again, as we were talking about, not limiting you from a travel aspect. So, have you had anyone like really reach out and send you some kind of fun or interesting ways at which they've been using your product, or maybe that someone sent you something like, hey, got your product and I'm over in XYZ country. Like, has any of that like really jumped out at you and been like, wow, okay, that's cool to hear, that's cool to see? Has anything kind of like wowed you in that aspect?
Well, I went to the Bar and Restaurant Expo in Vegas this year, and I had this woman from Australia be like, "We need this here. We don't have anything." And she had a couple bars and restaurants there. We don't have anything like this. We are just getting into the spice here. And I sent her a case there, and they started using it at her bar and restaurant. But I also had someone send me a cornbread they use the habanero in, which I want to try myself. I said, please send me the recipe. So we always try to add as many recipes that we come up with to our website and on our social media, but we love hearing other people try to experiment with something else that we didn't even think of.
Yeah, no, that has to be a lot of fun, and the reason why I asked that is because it does kind of bring in, it invokes that that community base, I guess, if you will. It has that engagement from those that are out there enjoying your product, tapping in fun and creative ways. Also, like it's still a little bit one of those surreal moments whenever you see your product out in a different area that you wouldn't have normally expected, right? It's fun, it's exciting, but at the same time, it really kind of catches you off guard, and you're like having to figure out, wait, what? Okay, all right, I'm all for this. Let's party. So it's a lot of
And we had
fun.
two other couples reach out saying we'd love to have this as our signature drink for our weddings, which I loved hearing and was super excited about. So that
Yeah.
was nice.
No, that's very cool. Okay. Now, one thing that often people are familiar with, like how tinctures are utilizing the alcohol to extract the capsaicin throughout that process. Now, as far as is this strictly going through the process of almost like a pressing of the different peppers, or are you extracting as well via alcohol or oils?
We aren't in the oils. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like sometimes people will suspend the overall pepper taste and heat utilizing like just a simple press, utilizing like oils or alcohol to have the alcohol evaporate and really pull that capsaicin and flavor out. I didn't know if that was maybe a method at which y'all are doing that, or if y'all are doing simply more of like a press of the pepper to get the overall juice aspect
Well,
out.
it's the blend and press. And we have had people say, our bar already distills the pepper in the alcohol to make it spicy, but they were like, we'll wait for that to be, we'll wait a couple days for it to distill, and then they'll use it and be like, there's no spice. So they're kind of taking a risk by just putting the peppers in and hoping that it will be spicy. They're like, it could be just a whole waste of whichever alcohol they use because they
Hmm.
can't spicy. So that's where I cut the corner for them and be like, hey, you don't need to take the time to prep and distill and wait. You can have the consistency in every drink just by using the Liv'N Spicy.
Yeah, and I guess that makes perfect sense. That's why I was like asking more so in that way, is because oftentimes the duration in which you actually need to wait for that capsaicin and that flavor to really extract out using like straight alcohol is not just a overnight type of thing. And yeah, oftentimes a lot of people will think, oh well, I just cut up these peppers and I dropped them in there for the alcohol, and it's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Oh, this should have been spicy. Now it was literally mixed in here with this, and sure, maybe there will be some kind of like a faint note, but to really get it all out and appreciate it, it's much longer duration than that. So, and yeah, it's the pressed way is going to definitely get a lot more of that total body out in throughout that process. So that makes a lot more sense. Just something that I was curious about, as to where I'm very familiar with like the tinctures and utilizing the powders and having that soak in higher proof alcohol to really like pull that heat and flavor out. but even then, that can it's not as smooth, right? As to the way that you're going about it, and so that was where I was trying to figure out. Okay, is it that way? Because it is much more smooth, so it doesn't quite make that sense. So definitely
Yeah.
wanted to ask.
When I was making it, I didn't want it to be thick. I really just wanted it to be more on the liquid side. So in the beginning, I was honestly using a almond milk strainer to strain it out with a metal strainer under it to catch the remaining.
Mm-hmm.
It's very time consuming, but I
Eh,
wanted it to not be that thick consistency. So when I went to my co-packer, he was getting a laugh out of it because I was like, well, I just used an almond strainer. He's like, well, we're going to find something faster and easier than all of us just straining it ourselves through the bag. So um, I wanted to make sure we didn't lose, the heat while straining it, because if we strain it too much, then you are essentially losing the pepper itself and the seed.
Yeah, the very very funny thing is, as I'm envisioning that, obviously knowing how fast capsaicin like attacks, blends, it soaks into the hands. We'll put it that way, because all the times that I'll either be chopping up peppers, or I'll spill a hot sauce and I go to wipe it up, but I'll use just my hand before going getting a towel, and to get like the bulk of it up, and I can just feel it radiating. So like just
Yeah.
picturing you like just trying to get it all out of there, and knowing how soaked your hands are going to be burning as you're like really testing this out. Yeah, it had to be a very fun
I,
and labor.
yeah, exactly. I got immune to it, but my boyfriend at the time was like, I can't even walk in the kitchen. Like the fumes are everywhere. I was like, I just got used to it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hey, you're either cut out for it or you're not. But yes, it also does help being the one in there, it like invoking it to kick up. Sure, you'll still feel it initially, but you do, as you're saying, kind of like get used to it. It starts to be much more natural, and then
Yeah.
everyone that has not been there for the full ride, it's like hitting a brick wall. Oh,
Hmm.
what's going on
Yeah.
here?
I asked her, I'm like, what?
Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. Okay. All right. Well, I have a very fun game planned, but I also wanted to make sure I had that fit in. And so, as far as your own personal preference, heat level, where do you like to stay around?
Um, I just like to test my limit. So I can use like a good amount of the jalapeno, the habanero. I do like 2 to 3 tablespoons.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah.
I like it. All right. Well, very, very fun. And I know that that was going to be definitely a question that's fired off. So always like to get that one fit in there. But let's go ahead and do this. Let's jump it on over to the game.
Okay.
All right, here we go. We have a dual round of the five. So the good thing about this game is there's two different rundowns of it. So the first round, typically everyone is getting accustomed for how the game is played and how it's best managed. And then the second round, while it's not the exact same game, it is the same structure, just new images. Now, with the five, you have a ranking system of 1 through 5 right there on the left hand side of the screen. That is your ranking order. 1 could be the best, or 5 could be the best. That's totally up to you, Liv. Now, what I will do is I will show you one image at a time. You set the ranking. We can't change it after that, but you can change the like overall 1 or 5 being the highest.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. Up first, well, this is a beautiful city, town, whatever you want to call it, that is over in Norway that I've always been fond of. And this is simply one that's known as like time does not exist. It's a customary to leave your watch stuck to the overall fence post. as you're coming in. Where would you rank this?
3.
Yeah, this might not make any sense right now, but it might make sense here in a second. All right. Well, this here is another travel spot destination. This is the Aztec ruins area.
Let's go with 4.
All right. Well, now Rome.
2.
2. All right. 2 it is. And, well, Bora Bora.
That would be number 1 for me.
All right. Number 1 it is. Let me put this on over here. All right. And then last but not least, number 5. Well, this is the Swiss Alps. So now that it's set and these are all lined up, how do you feel about your selection, knowing that we can't change it, but would you have changed any of these orders?
Maybe 2 and 5. Other than
Okay.
the other.
All right. All right. I could see that. So do you enjoy actually like skiing or snowboarding more?
Yeah, I snowboard. I love
Okay.
snowboard.
All right. I like it. I've done both, but I personally prefer snowboarding over skiing. But I also grew up, well, trying to skateboard. I wouldn't say I was great at it, but I did skateboard, so that was always a lot of fun. But all right, let's run it back. This is round number 2 of the 5. Now, same process in which this all goes through, but different images, different categories and themes. All right. Well, this is a nice, relaxing spa day.
4.
4? All right. Well, this is hanging out with friends. Friends, family.
I would say 1.
All right. Then, well, fine dining.
2.
2? All right. Next, we have shopping.
3 for sure.
3. All right. Well, inherently, number 5 is, we will all find out together. Well, that's going to a concert.
5.
So, how did this one pan out? Obviously, different criteria, different outlook. How did this one play out? Would you have changed anything?
Probably the same, like 2 and 5.
Okay.
Rather go to dining.
Okay. What kind of concerts are you more into?
I love country, but I also love Stevie Nicks and like alternative rock.
Okay. All right. All right. I like it. It's always interesting to kind of see the overall breakdown and different, I guess, weight to these as everyone's kind of categorizing these. Because obviously you always have those ones that catch you off guard. It's like, oh, that was next. I didn't even think about that. I've had to stop being there for a bit. I would have like 3 that would be all in the same category and 2 that were just a totally different category. And while that was fun for me, I know that it made the situation to the game a lot harder because sometimes it would be like the very first one was the off the wall thing, and then the next 2 were on category. The third one was like off category again. So everyone was like, "Oh, what do we do?" So always fun. But that was the 5. I always like to kind of have a game that breaks it up and kind of does a nice little mental reset, if you will, for everyone. Because the next part here is the nugget of knowledge. And so the nugget of knowledge in this one in particular is going to be really geared towards those individuals that are just starting out. They're uncertain. Maybe they've been working on something at home, or maybe they've started to bring a product out to have others kind of start trying. What would your nugget of knowledge be to those individuals that may be either just starting out or starting to get a little bit discouraged instead of like pushing forward?
Well, when I was looking for a co-packer and how long it was taking, I was getting discouraged. Like, I'm never going to find one. And, do I just go with the easier route? But at the time, my mom was like, no, like stick to your core values and someone will come around, and like you just got to keep looking, you just got to keep pushing. And I would definitely say when it comes to like you have your final product and formula, like stick to your guns and don't let a co-packer or anyone else tell you like maybe do this or alter the formula. Um, yeah, just really like staying true to yourself and like what means the most to you and keeping your formula that you made, and don't let anyone really try to alter it. Um, and also like your friends are there to be your friends and give you the brutal honesty sometime, or be like, hey, maybe, it would be good in this, or, it might be too spicy, or there's a pungent taste, or they'll really give you the critiques that you need, and don't be afraid to ask, especially like your family too. Like I had them be my guinea pigs for a while. So just using the people around you to really help you. And like if you have questions, like um, don't be afraid to ask, or ask other people that have made it. Just reaching out to them, like you'll be surprised that they will answer you and be like, hey, send it to me, I'll let you know what I think. So not being afraid to ask for help, I would say.
All right. Very well said. Thank you for that nugget of knowledge. And I guess that also leads me to want to ask as well. How does the rest of your family deal with spice? Are they also on board with the habanero heat of your product line?
Yeah, so all of my siblings love heat. My mom likes, my dad doesn't, but my mom likes the jalapeno like in a tea or a lemonade, but just a little bit. She likes spicy, like she likes it in food, but when it comes to drinks, she doesn't, she's not on board with the yet. But with food, like I had that Super Bowl party with her and she loved it. So I have the support from all of them though.
Okay.
They think it was a great product and like run with it.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great to hear. It's always interesting to see kind of just the breakdown of like those that are actually spice lovers in families, and then the ones that are just completely against it. I have some in-laws, some brother-in-law, and I guess a sister-in-law also. I think is not fond of spice, but yeah, it's always fun to see that play out. It's also, your stuff is safe if they're around, because it's solely yours at that point.
Yeah. And yeah, my dad was just like, I just don't get this for a while. But then his business partner, he was like, she only drinks spicy margs, and she told him like, you don't understand how huge this got. So then he was like, okay, he's starting to see it on like every menu at the bars and restaurants, and being like, it's almost mandatory they have something spicy on there. So
Absolutely. It's growing. It's a growing sector. It's going to be massive. And I think you are primed for the perfect, stretch between both sides of that aisle, both with the drinks and with the food. And so definitely excited for that. Now, the next part here is the hot seat nomination. This is someone that you think would make a great guest for the show.
I would say the person I told you earlier from Zest Fest, Marcos. It's called Tio's Marcos Artesian Foods. It's a salsa company. I think he's really been on a roll. He knows what he's doing and is super knowledgeable. And I really look up to him. Yeah, he's awesome.
Well, definitely be setting up a time to have him on. Thank you so much for that nomination. Now, this last part here is greatly beneficial for those that are just audio only listening on Apple Podcasts. But really, where can they find you? How can they find you? And any kind of announcements that you want to make, this is that perfect opportunity.
We are on liv'nspicy.com as well as Amazon and Walmart.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It has been an absolute pleasure. Obviously, love to keep up with everything that you have going on. There's still so much more we can dive into. So would love to have you back on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Brandon.
Liv, thank you so much for coming on. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. If you'd like to keep up with Liv'N Spicy, I will have the direct links down below, as well as the socials, with all the ways that you can keep up with Liv'N Spicy, as well as direct links to the products that are featured here on Hot or Not Tonight. Remember, these are not only things that you can utilize in your overall drinks, but also pair very nicely with different foods and quick and easy ways to add that spice into your overall dishes. So, great avenue there for that. Want to say thank y'all so much, the ones that have been rocking and rolling since day one, all the way to those that have just recently found the podcast. So thank you for jumping in and being a part of this. Continue to share this out with other like-minded chili heads or individuals that are curious about the world of hot. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Central, and have sponsorship opportunities available and open right now. So reach out via the website, theswearword.net, or reach out on socials and we'll get that conversation started. For our current sponsors, we have podvision.io. Looking to grow your brand, start your brand, hit a bump in the road, you're trying to figure things out, highly recommend checking out podvision.io for all of those needs, as well as webdx.one. Maybe you have an online site. Maybe you had a guy at one point and lost contact with him. Maybe you never got around to building one. Highly recommend you reach out to webdx.one. They get it you looking great online while you get to focus on what you do best. I'm Brandon Swear, and from everything from the world of hot, this has been The Swear Word.